Now it's time for Behind the Headlines and a look at some of the stories that have caught our eye. The Wisconsin city of Kenosha, as we've been reporting, has become an unlikely backdrop for the presidential election after the shooting of Jacob Blake sparked riots there. Today, the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel reports that Joe Biden has met with Blake's father despite refusing to meet Donald Trump the day before. And an undercover journalist in France who infiltrated the police has exposed a culture of violence and racism that for many will come as no surprise. The journalist for Le Monde details violent accounts when dealing with young migrants while out on patrol and how officers would close ranks to protect each other. Now, the British local newspaper Kent Live reports that a record number of migrants made it to the shores of the UK in a single day. 409 people managed to make the dangerous Channel crossing, packed onto a variety of small boats from France. And actor or actress? Is it semantics or does it really matter? Cate Blanchett has weighed in on the debate, arguing that the term actress is almost always used in an insulting way. Well, with me here to review these stories are the journalist Alexis Poulain and the French-Algerian journalist Nabila Ramdani. Thanks so much for both of you for being with us this evening. Nabila, if I can start with you. First it was Trump, now it was Biden. What do you make of the president and his Democratic rival descending on this town of Kenosha, which has seen so much violence and tension?
Well, this trip by Joe Biden to Kenosha is one which he hopes will place him very much on the side of the persecuted in America. He wants to be seen as a future president who really does believe that Black lives matter and who wants to be a friend and an ally to those who are regularly being targeted by the police. The former vice president has actually called for charges for police involved in Jacob Blake's shooting, but then he qualified that by saying that he wanted a full investigation first, but he clearly wants to be seen as a supporter of the Blake family. But on the other side, there is Donald Trump, very much placing himself on the side of his conservative base, people who are far more likely to support the police in situations like this. And this will be, in fact, the first trip to Wisconsin by a Democratic presidential nominee since 2012. And this too shows how important the events in the state have become to the presidential race. I think Biden will be particularly keen to draw that fine line between supporting families like the Blakes, while also trying to avoid the image of being soft on law and order. And of course, the Trump camp is desperately trying to make out that the Democrats are a weak party who will bow down to the street and allow lawlessness to flourish.
Alexis, it's led to accusations that both men and their camps are playing politics here. Is this political point scoring, or do you think this is a genuine attempt to heal divisions in America?
Oh, I think it's sadly pure politics. Trump is the president, so of course it has to be law and order, otherwise he would be criticized for not being this. And what it says is that he's pulling the strings. Biden is coming there just following Trump on the campaign and trying to have a counterfire and pretending to be on the side of the Blake family, on the side of Black Lives Matters. Of course, it's all about trying to get the electorate on one side and on the other. What it says is that America is very divided in real, and that this campaign is not helping, healing anything. I think it's a fact that now the risk of a sort of low-waging civil war or cold civil war is going on, where you have the camp of the Trump supporter of, this white America that has been left aside of the globalization, and these American people, Black American people, who have a feeling that they don't belong or that they can't have the same life as the white people of America. It's very difficult, and I don't see either of the candidates trying to mend the big gap that is coming up in the American civil society.
OK, well, speaking about police brutality against sort of ethnic minorities and Black people, French police officers are also in the headlines today. Nabila, tell us more about that.
Well, to be honest, I'm not sure that a journalist needed to infiltrate the French police to uncover a culture of racism and violence, but that's exactly what Valentin Gendreau has done. He claims the violence was routine and that everything was done to cover it up. At one stage, he was forced himself to help falsify evidence against a teenager who had been beaten by an officer. He said that he heard police officer using racist terms for blacks and Arabs and indeed immigrant communities. Now, having grown up in Paris myself, I must say that none of this comes as a surprise, especially nowadays when videos are always being posted on social media, drawing attention to violence and racism by the police. There have been some, scores of filmed examples of police attacks during the coronavirus pandemic and indeed just before it. I have covered, for example, the Gilets jaunes riots in Paris, which were taking place pretty much every Saturday. And it has to be said that police were regularly seen beating up people wearing yellow vests or spraying them with tear gas. I have also written extensively about ethnic minorities, getting it particularly hard, however, and there have been a number of suspicious deaths of Arab and black men at the hands of police, and this has strengthened the Black Lives Matter movement in France.
Alexia, I see you sort of nodding throughout Nabila's response there. I mean, Gendreau says he was shocked to discover how badly trained and paid police recruits are and how the constant stress and daily hostility and violence they face drives officers often to depression and suicide. Of course, nothing justifies police brutality. But what needs to be done here? Does the police force need re-educating? Do they need to be paid more? Do they need to be clear consequences for officers who carry out these assaults?
Well, of course, it's a difficult job, and people that choose this job have a mission, and it's critical because it's about keeping the society together and not having it falling apart. And they have to face violence every day. They have to have a very difficult job in very bad condition. And that's the problem here. Of course, police violence is unacceptable, and what we've seen with the yellow vest was unacceptable. It was pure repression, and it has been documented by other journalists. So it was not the necessity. But what is important in this book and what this journalist did is showing how poorly these policemen are actually trained, and that they don't choose things that are actually crucial for society, like violence to women or responding to violence or any other thing, that they have no interest to it. And there is a culture, a masculinity culture of who is the strongest, who is the best cowboy, the best sheriff, rather than who is doing the best job. And the problem we have here is that it has been this way for so many years, with either left or right government doing nothing about it. Because even when Nicolas Sarkozy was head of state, he actually cut a lot of resources from the police, and he didn't do anything for the training or making their life better. So what we have now is that we have police people very tired of doing their job, and in a context of violence that we've never seen before. And it's not a violence in the street. I think it's a political violence, because of the financial crisis that is coming. And so we have to change this very quickly. OK. Of course, this will resonate with many people from ethnic minorities around the world. We've seen a record number of migrants crossing the Channel this week from France to the UK. Nabila, it's a perilous journey made by people so desperate for freedom. But what needs to be done to break this cycle?
Well, again, this is one of those stories that doesn't really come as a great surprise. I mean, asylum seekers looking to start a new life in Britain have been using the English Channel route between Calais and Dover for decades. What has changed is that the security in the Channel Tunnel and on the ferries has been stepped up massively, meaning that the migrants have turned to small boats. We must remember that there were something like 8,000 migrants in illegal camps around Calais right up until 2016, when the major camp there was destroyed. Now there are around 1,000. So the numbers are, in fact, down. These people mainly come from deeply troubled countries, and the main aim is to have their asylum cases tested in the UK, where they are likely to have family. Mainly will speak English too, and that is the reason why they want to be considered for asylum in the UK.
Alexei, the UK Prime Minister says he has sympathy, but that they are falling prey to criminal gangs and breaking the law. Do you agree then with him that it's the criminal gangs that must be tackled?
Yes, I totally agree. Mafia should be tackled because this business of human people is actually one of the new business of mafia around the world. And they make billions doing this. In Libya, for example, you have camp where people are badly treated and they pay a lot of money to try to cross to Europe and then try to cross again to the UK. But nothing is done in Europe to tackle the mafia, and nothing is done in the UK, I'm sorry, to tackle the mafia either. So it's a lot of political wishy-washy thinking and trying to say that Brexit is something and that you voted people for Brexit and we're going to change things. But what it says is that politicians actually can't change much unless they actually have the will, the political will to do so. And here we have a case where it's a problem not only between France and the UK, but it's Europe as a whole looking at the other side of the Mediterranean Sea, because what's happening here is that we have people coming from the other side, paying a lot of money to mafia, and we do nothing to help them on the other side. And when it comes that they come to boats to come to the UK, it's very late, and it's too late, and they should have the right to ask for a right to residency or try to settle in a less troubled country, but we haven't set up the right thing to help them do so. So they have to turn to mafia, turn to black market to make it happen. This is a failure of Europe as a whole, and the UK is not helping with Brexit.
OK, so working more closely together for a solution, I guess, between France, the UK and the EU. And lastly, Cate Blanchett says, don't call me an actress, I'm an actor. Nabila, Alexei, who wants to tackle this one first? Nabila, what do you think of this?
Well, I get the impression that actors come up with comments like this to grab the headlines when they have a movie or some other...
Never! How can you say that?
Has a fair point there. Actor is actually a good word, and there's an obvious reason. There's no really obvious reason to create a feminine version when both male and female actors are actually doing the exact same thing. That said, I think Cate Blanchett would struggle in a country like France, where there are male and female words for almost everything. I don't quite see how actress might be a pejorative term, however. But I guess that Cate has far more experience in being treated badly as a female actor than the rest of us. And there is no doubt that actresses are in a profession that can get a very hard time, especially from sexist directors and indeed producers.
Alexei, I know that you are not going to contradict anything that Nabila says there. Are you in support? Actor? Can we leave it at that? An actor.
Well, no, I think it's very sad.
I think that's it from behind the headlines. We just have to leave it there and thank our two guests. That's this edition.